What up? What up? Back at it again. Another week. Listen, we've been gone for a little bit. We're out for a little bit. Listen, life happens, guys. We have life. People do things. People work. They have jobs. But I'm here. I'm your boy Gabe. That's Julian over there. And that's your boy JoJo. We're back at it again. We're covering lots of sports. Listen, it's going to be very centric. We're in the middle of, I feel like, not a sports equinox. I feel like there's lots of things going on. NBA, we're closing down. But we're not going to talk about NBA today because we got other time. We got another week for that.
Equinox.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
So much going on in March, man.
Yeah,
it's literally March Madness across sports right now.
It's all madness.
I don't even know how we're keeping up. Listen, we haven't been recording, but trust, we've been watching or attending.
Yeah.
So
or attending.
The boys been a little busy. Boys been a little busy right now.
Yo, let's recap because we've been off 2 weeks. So we had a 2-week tournament, the World Baseball Classic. JoJo was hyped as hell. Julian, he don't really watch baseball. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna watch because it's fun. And it seemed like overall the World Baseball Classic was pretty much successful. Like it seemed like a very fun event. And JoJo, you actually went to the games. They were actually hosting in Miami. So when they got later in the rounds, they hosted in Miami. So JoJo, I'm gonna throw it to you. How was your experience watching the game? Because you went to a lot of games.
Yo, it's crazy. Listen, honestly, I don't even know where to start. And what I can say is I definitely took advantage of this tournament, like I said in previous episodes. Highly anticipated. Julian and I went back in 2017. We're fortunate to attend USA versus DR, and at that moment, that was probably one of the most exciting games I've gone to. So we were waiting, right, and it got postponed for COVID. And yeah, since Miami was hosting all 3 rounds, we're definitely fortunate enough to attend, and it's crazy. I mean, obviously, I was going for Puerto Rico, and unfortunately, we did lose in the quarterfinals to Mexico, which was actually an amazing game. So I don't even know, man. Like I attended 7 games across the board. We started off Puerto Rico, Israel. So I was actually fortunate enough, and I was with Julian to witness the first ever perfect game in World Baseball Classic history and the second no-hitter. But it was the first perfect game. So unfortunately, Team Israel didn't get a hit, didn't get a base runner. No one got walked. We mercy ruled them in the 7th inning. We're up 10-zip. Julian, I don't know if you want to tag along, tell us your experience in that game specifically, and then I'll carry on with some of the other games.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't they say that they're trying not to count it or something like that because it wasn't a full 9 innings or something, which I think is garbage.
I know.
I mean, it's a mercy rule game. It's if anything, that's more impressive. That's more impressive that the game got so out of hand that you had to end it. But
yeah,
I mean, it was awesome. It wasn't the most filled for that game, obviously, because there's not really many Israeli fans that attended. So it was mostly just Puerto Rican fans. So it wasn't the most anticipated matchup, like JoJo will talk about after this, where the stadium was filled with people and had a crazy atmosphere. But it was very impressive to just see Puerto Rico just flex their dominance and just see the difference in levels, because I'm pretty sure Israel, the entire team except for maybe 1 or 2 players were in the majors. I mean, it got to the point where I was hearing this guy, first baseman Billy Smith, playing for the Long Island Plumbers. I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's where are they? And I told JoJo going into this, I bet you all these motherfuckers are from Brooklyn. I was like, I bet you. So, but yeah.
No, yeah, it's crazy, right? And it shows, one, just the dominance, of Puerto Rico, but it also gives exposure to, a lot of players who are trying to make their way into, the MLB, right? They play professionally, obviously with AA, AAA, but this tournament will give them exposure to get these signings depending on how they perform. So that's a really, dope opportunity. And like Julian said, again, this wasn't the most anticipated game of the tourney. And, the Puerto Ricans, we flooded the stadium. It was definitely 85, 90% Puerto Ricans at this game. And we all witnessed the perfect game. I don't care if they counted or not.
Yeah.
All right. It's not our fault. We mercy them. That's the tournament rules. Hey, we're just going off tournament rules.
You play the game, man. You throw the ball, play the game.
We could have extended it. We could have held on 9-zip until, the 9th inning. And that doesn't guarantee they would have got on. But it was really cool. So we had the walk off as well. Obviously, when you gone over 10 runs by the 7th inning, like they call the game. And the second part of the mercy rule, if you're up 15 by the 5th inning, that's also a game as well. So that was dope. That was dope. And second game I went to, kind of the same thing. Literally the next day was Dominican Republic versus Israel once again. And it's funny because DR, they won with a walk-off and a one-hitter. So both games were actually pretty similar. It was just pure dominance. It was 10-zip or 10-1. I forgot what it was, 11-1. I don't know. They might have got shot out again. But regardless, it was a mercy rule win. And just to see that lineup, with DR's power and the hitting, that was ridiculous. Again, the stadium flooded with majority Dominican fans. And let's get into after the games, though, because after both games, man, shout out to the Marlins and Lone Depot Park. They really set it up. They had DJs, they had live bands, they had performances. So after every game, we hung around for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Just vibing.
Yeah.
Just vibing. You got the instruments everywhere. It was definitely like an experience. And I remember way back 2013, senior year in high school, watching the games on TV and just seeing that in the stands. And you would always think one day, like, damn, I would love to go. I would love to participate. I would love to feel, like the culture.
Be an adult and be like, be like out there.
Corona in my hand. I'm out here dancing bachata after the game with a life. I'm like, that was once in a lifetime, man. So I definitely didn't take any of these games for granted because you never know, right? Let's say all of a sudden they want to switch the host city for whatever reason.
Put it to New York or something.
And I'm thinking that. So we'll get into that too. I'm like, if they ever did at Yankee Stadium, they'll have a dope turnout. So the first two games that I attended definitely got me excited for this third one, which was to me the most anticipated game of the tournament with PR versus DR.
Yeah, that one. That's going crazy.
Listen, that's the battle. That's the battle of New York right there. That's bragging rights. Like this game happens once every 4 years if we even match up against each other. So that was dope, man. I had to pay a little penny for it, but it was definitely worth it. We had to go out and experience that. And shout out to my boys because we got the job done.
Yeah.
We won 5-2. That's probably my favorite game of all time attending. Again, like for the game, but just for the atmosphere as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say the atmosphere.
Hands down,
insane.
the funnest game, right? And it was dope because no matter where you were, you saw PR, you saw DR, you saw PR, you saw DR. Yeah. You saw them. You saw families, mixed families, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. You saw couples. I went with my girl. She was Dominican, and her dad. So that was mixed emotions there. Like you're rooting for both teams in a sense. Yeah. You want your team to win, but you want to see a good game. And that's what we saw. Like what would have been dope though if if it was a little closer. Like everybody wants to see that walk off, or want to see it come down to the last inning.
It'd be tight at the end.
Yeah, it wasn't like that, right? We came up, we had a strong start. We were 4-zip. I think we had 2 home runs in the same inning. We went ballistic. Like that was insane. We also had an inside the park home run that game. That was dope to see from Lindor. And they put up a couple of runs, but then I don't want to say it got quiet because honestly it was never really quiet that game. Listen, if they caught a fly ball in center field, like you're going crazy in the stands. Like you had all the instruments, the guidas, you had trumpets, you had drums. I had my what do you call it?
Cowbell.
The cowbell. Cowbell. Going crazy. That was really cool though. That was really cool. And moving forward from that game, I went to a couple of the quarterfinal games. I went to the semifinals game, and I even went to the championship game.
Yeah.
So it was. I had to take advantage, man. Tickets, honestly, guys, were not that bad. The day of the game, right? So you kind of had to wait, sit a little bit. A lot of people sold their tickets, or let's say couldn't attend. Let's say. So I went to PR Mexico. That was a heartbreaking loss. You want to hear a funny story? No. So we won a 4-zip in the first inning, and you know what I did?
Wow.
I bought the semifinal ticket.
You're like, I'm going. We're going all the way, baby.
And I told JoJo, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see what happens.
Yo, granted, I got blessed because it was Mexico, Japan in that semifinal, which it should have been PR. And Japan ended up winning with a walk-off, sending them to the final. So I was like, you know what? I at least got my money's worth.
Yeah, you got a moment. You got a moment.
But listen, guys, don't ever get too excited. Don't ever jump the gun. Let them play the full 9 innings, 4 quarters, whatever it is. Like Puerto Rico, we won a 4-zip against Mexico in the first inning. I bought the tickets. I'm like, listen.
It's over.
I had to.
It's over.
I'm like, the game's over. We're cooking them. And guess what? Those were the only 4 runs we scored that entire game. So there's a story for y'all. And it's funny. I was like,
I was just sitting there, and it was like it's 4-0, and then it's like it's 4-2, and it's 4-3. And then 4-5. I'm like, bro, are they not gonna score? Like, I mean, like they just scored the first inning and didn't even touch it again.
Yo, that game, man. You know, like you said, we lost, but damn, the atmosphere in that, and Julian was there as well, and it was crazy because shout out to your boy. Well, not a real shout out. I'm just saying, Rosarena, who actually held it down for Mexico the entire tournament.
He had that moment. Yeah,
he had too many moments.
He had to cut that fly ball. He was sitting there.
He caught the fly ball, hit the wall. He's standing everybody. Then he wants to go ahead and just hit doubles whenever he wants. And I'm just here like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, man. Shout out to my Cuban brethren. Shout out to Cuba.
I'm not even gonna get into that. But you know,
do you ever hear why? You hear the story why? Actually, he said something because he got asked it a lot. He got asked it a lot throughout the tournament. Gabe, you know?
Well, he was too good. The team said he was too good, and they thought he would defect. And then when they had a tournament, I forget where they had a tournament. He had to stay behind because they're like, this guy's gonna leave. Like he's gonna defect. Like he's too good. He's probably gonna go to Mexico. So he eventually got to Mexico, and that's how he got into the United States. But I think he asked the Mexican president for citizenship so he could play. You know, he wanted to play in the tournament, and he wasn't gonna play for Cuba. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I heard.
Yeah, he basically said because one of the first places he played professionally was in Mexico. He said that Mexico gave him the opportunity to like play baseball. He started out playing minors in Mexico and then worked his way up to the professional league, and then obviously came over to the MLB. But he raised his daughter. I think his daughter was born in Mexico too, so his daughter's technically Mexican, and he just felt more with that because the fact that Mexico gave him the opportunity to become a player.
Yeah,
so that's why he wanted.
I respect that. You know what? I respect it because like they had this discussion in the NBA about Damian Lillard, and these people have like an allegiance, like they drafted me, they believed in me, like I'm gonna stick it out here. So I respect that. Like it's like y'all gave me an opportunity, I fucking got to grow, I got to be grow up as an adult. I like that.
Yeah, it happens a lot in a lot of like international things, like where you represent a country. I've noticed that like a lot of people are like, well, it's the country who gave me the opportunity. I mean, you see it a lot in like Olympics or like World Cup or whatever. It's like this is the country that I was kind of raised in and what gave me the opportunity. So it's like I'm gonna roll with that one. So
the actual
but you want to
right? So he had like a dual citizenship. Was that what it was?
I think that's how when he defected, he went to Mexico and then he eventually made it to the US.
Yeah, well, to play for any country, you have to
be a citizen,
have a passport.
Yeah, or be a resident. You have to be a resident.
You have to be a green card, or whatever their equivalent is of a green card.
You have to be a resident.
Have a passport.
Well, man, listen, man. If it wasn't for this, man, we would have been in the semifinals, bro. So. And Carlos Correa was dearly missed in that tournament as well. Shout out to him and his newborn child. But we needed him. We needed the boy. Moving on. USA came to town, right? So they advanced from Pool C as the 2 seed, which no one saw that coming. So the head-to-head matchup, Mexico beat USA. They both finished the top of their pool, with Mexico being first, and then USA being second. So USA got the matchup against Venezuela, which was Pool D winner, which we didn't even get into because damn, yo, shout out Venezuela because they took out two of the powerhouses in Pool D and fucked it up for all of us because they made PR versus DR an elimination game.
Yeah, for real.
Which was
they said we're the powerhouse. They said we're the power.
Nah, man, I gotta give them a shout out. That was crazy. That was crazy. They beat DR, put them on notice, and then they beat Puerto Rico after, and then it was a wrap. It was like that's it. Like it came down to PR versus DR, who's gonna leave the pool. So that made that.
And
game
I don't know if you remember, I told JoJo coming into the tournament, he was just brushing off Venezuela.
Yeah,
like coming into it, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like Venezuela's
always
stacked.
Good on paper, bro. They're always stacked. And they never proved themselves until now.
4-0.
Well, they were stacked, bro. So moving on to that game, USA versus Venezuela, that was one for the books. I don't know if you guys saw that one on TV.
I saw the highlights, which I saw every run essentially.
To witness Trey Turner's monster.
Oh yeah, when we went off. Oh yeah, I remember that.
Lead. I got the videos, the excitement. So. PRDR was my favorite game to attend, one of the loudest games to attend. I would say the loudest game of the entire tournament was USA versus Venezuela. I mean, the fan base in Venezuela was relentless. Like they did not stop. And they came out, they had a lead as well. And, USA came back. And it looks like they had the game in the bag. If it wasn't for that Grand Slam, which put USA up by 2, man, they would have been in the semifinals for sure. That shit was, I don't even know how to explain it. The loudest game. Yo, honestly, I just wanted to see a good game, so I wasn't rooting for anybody. I was chilling, bro. I was chilling. I did want to mention. I don't know if you got to see any of the games in Japan. I didn't chance to, but I watched the highlights after. Man. The environment in Japan I did not expect that. I really expected to be filled, but more reserved just due to their culture. But Jesus Christ, dude, it looked like a soccer match. They had the flags waving, the trumpets.
They have chants. Everybody's all in sync.
It was cool hearing their chants.
It was insane.
I saw Japan twice, and it was cool. It was dope, especially when they had the walk off. No. So,
but in Tokyo, I was like, damn, it literally reminded me of you see those international soccer matches. It was fucking insane. I was like, I didn't realize they got don't get me wrong, I knew it was probably gonna be filled out, but I didn't know they were that rowdy, I guess. I didn't anticipate that. But and then when I saw the highlights for Japan, Korea, it was just insane. Korea had their own dedicated fenced off section, and they were going nuts. When they scored, it was god damn, it was wild. And it's pretty cool to see Otani play in Tokyo. It was the first time. It was the first time too he's ever did it or something like that. Is that his? It was the first time he played in Tokyo since he left or something like that.
Professional return.
Yeah. Since he got signed from the Angels. Obviously that's where he used to play before. But man, I'll tell you what. They have a very respectable fan base.
League.
And when they played Mexico, I remember after the game walking through, they were legit taking photos with Mexican fans.
Yeah,
the people around us, they didn't know them. They were just happy, but they were kind as well. It was crazy, and we were like, "Wait, who were you rooting for?" Because it's kind of hard to tell because they weren't bragging or anything, right? They were calm after the game. They started cleaning up, and then whoever was near them, they'll ask to take photos of them, with their flags and everything. And I was like, "Wow." Shit, I didn't see that.
They're respectable. Julian knows because in soccer they do the same shit too. When they go travel, they clean up. They're very respectable fans.
Yeah, that happened in the World Cup. There was how the Japanese locker room after the World Cup, after they won that crazy game in advance.
Yeah.
The entire locker room was spotless. Yeah. And everybody's Jesus, they left it spotless. I was like, damn.
Japan, not Japan.
So, back to that game, man, with the walk-off, they were down early as well. And watching Japan play with fundamentals was some of the best baseball I've seen. I enjoyed seeing Puerto Rico play live. I enjoyed seeing a powerhouse Dominican Republic play live. Of course, USA, it's all-star. Mexico was super impressive. Venezuela was impressive. But for some reason, when Japan was down, I just had a feeling they'll chip their way back into the game. I mean, these guys had professionals professional base stealers, professional hitters, professional bunters. One of their players bunted with 2 strikes, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but game when you play baseball, if you bunt with 2 strikes and it fouls off, it's out.
Yeah, it's out.
And I'm talking in a critical moment.
But if you're good, though, if you have the skill, you can fucking bunt with 2 strikes.
That bunter, man, and that's how Puerto Rico lost our game to Mexico, because we popped up a bunt and it was a wrap, and I was furious. So I was like, "Yo, we need to call this guy right now, and he needs to come to training camp with us and show our guys how to bunt." But it was in a critical moment. He did his job. All he had to do was advance the base runners, and then guess what? Next guy came in, hit a single in a gap, brought in both runs because he did his job with 2 strikes. And apparently he won like a bunt contest in Japan. I don't know, for like All-Star Week, or I don't even know. They do things like that. And then going in to the championship game, USA versus Japan. Okay. Japan with 2 titles already. USA trying to go back to back. It was a spectacle. It was pretty dope. You seen it all. You seen all the action. You saw home runs. You saw a pitching duel. You saw base stealing. And of course, it came down to the end for the matchup that we all wanted to see. Full count, 2 outs. Ohtani versus Trout, both Angel players, 2 of the best players in Major League Baseball. And that matchup right there just made it worth it to witness in person. I want to know who the script writers are, because they did it.
Twitter was going off. Twitter was going off.
I was here, reading the script, like, this is gonna happen, predicting the game. And holy shit, it happened.
And it's so crazy to think too, because that's like, that'll probably go down as like, or if not already, one of the greatest like final game matchups ever across baseball history. And it's like, you talk about the 2 giants of the sports going at it in an international match
on the same team.
Is just and a player who he never closed or hasn't closed since he played in Japan or something like that.
Have Ohtani come in and close and deflects like that for an inning. Disrespectful.
It was insane. And what's so crazy? That, like, this was, at least for me, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually is. This is probably the most I've heard baseball be talked about in decades. Yeah. I mean, I was hearing people who have never even mentioned the word baseball to me talking about the match, or even on Twitter. I'm on soccer Twitter as well, and these are people who never bring it up. Never bring up any other sport, and they were talking about the game. Even NFL Twitter, they're talking about the game. No. And like it was like the dream matchup, and it was just like I've never experienced, at least since I was like a little kid, like everybody talking about baseball. It was a great event. I think it was the most successful World Baseball Classic ever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know in attendance. I don't know in ratings, but I know in attendance it was.
Game ever. Yeah. I think that was the most viewed professional game ever.
I think what I heard was like 50% of TVs in Japan were watching. 50% of the TVs were watching that final game. So I mean,
and you're talking about millions. Yeah, you're like 100 million people. Yeah. Like it's Super Bowl numbers, probably bigger, honestly. Yeah, and it's wild to see, and I'm curious to see how baseball could like capitalize on that, like. And you already know they're thinking of it. Like, you already know the MLB is like, damn, how can we like, not necessarily recapture, because I don't think you'll ever recapture it. But it's like, how can you like take advantage of the situation of all the hype? Yeah, because they're thinking about it. Like, how are you going to do it?
To go in 3 years. So in 2026, we're gonna see World Baseball Classic come back. They moved it up a year because we lost a year because of COVID. So 3 short years, we're gonna wait. Yeah, and I'm excited to see the talent. That's going to come around this time, because I think it really built up hype, not just for us as a fan base, but like Julian said, it's getting better and better that, players are going to want to attend, right? They're going to want to play meaningful games, and, have a chance to have a world title. Like, I know we have the World Series in the MLB, but like an actual world title, to represent your country and, and just to take pride in that. And I'm like, very appreciative to have taken advantage of this and gone to multiple games from each round, meaningful games, and just to see the pride, see the culture in and out of the arena, over here in Little Havana. which is wild to me. Like I'm still taking it in. Like I have a lot of content, videos, photos, just I got to witness, clutch home runs, strikeouts, walk-offs, and
big moments.
It's crazy. It's like surreal, you know what I mean? And I was on go mode.
Yeah.
I was like, go to work, go to the game. Go to work, go to the game. Like I was like, I don't know, bro.
Let me ask you something. Like I'm curious because like how do I word this? Like to me it shows it's not necessarily the sport of baseball. It's about having meaningful games. That's what makes people excited. And I think that's like the one thing that I think MLB can take away is it's not necessarily like changing. Obviously, I think you should change elements of the sport to make it like a little smoother, more modern, but it's like showing meaningful games. And I think that's what people want to see. It's like people want to see meaningful games. That's what creates excitement. And like I know everybody for decades has been banging the drum to shorten the season. And it's like if this to me doesn't show like you should shorten the season to make more meaningful games, I don't know what does. Like because it's exciting to see like this is a win or go home situation. It's like it's game 7 every game. Like you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, even with COVID season, I could speak on that, even though they did expanded playoffs, but I think they cut it down to 60 games, I want to say. I don't know, 70,
60 games.
So you already know off the bat, like every game mattered at that moment once they cut the games because that's your chance to make playoffs. I feel like it did have a good impact of viewership, even though no one actually attended the games to experience it. We're watching at home on TV. I wouldn't be against it. I know baseball starts in March, ends in October. That's an extremely long season. There's a lot of series. There's like 7 games. Your team will play like 4 to 7 games a week. It's a lot, for not for the average baseball fan, right? So like for baseball fans, like we can enjoy it. But like if you're kind of outside of that, you tune in every once in a while, and it's hard to keep up with what's going on with the season.
You get busy for a week and all of a sudden you miss like 6 games and you're like 4 games below 500 or some shit. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not even necessarily against like March to October. Just maybe spread it out. Like put less in like, I don't know, like twice a week, have like 2 games a week instead of 5, like, something like that would be crazy. But, yeah, I think it was super, super successful. It was really cool to see baseball talked like that in this country, which is something we haven't seen. And I think it's an inherent advantage that baseball and MLB has is take advantage of the fact that you have something that none of the other major American sports in this country has, which is like enough international players to where you can create this World Cup style thing and replicate what you see in soccer, where it's the biggest spectacle in the world. See what they do, and you're like, all right, how can we bring that? How do we foster that? Because who's to say, like, maybe seeing Mexico and go on that run, it's sparking that next generation who got to see Mexico play and like create something. Because it's something I've personally seen in soccer, and I think it can be replicated in baseball. It's like seeing your country go on that run will like forever change you and shape the way you look at it.
And I just want to speak to like, a lot of the conversation was like, because a lot of people got mad. You want to talk about Puerto Rico, JoJo. We saw Edwin Diaz get hurt celebrating after a win, and, he's out for the season. And, a lot of people are saying, this is terrible. The owners are going to hate this. I don't want my players getting injured. This is a meaningless game. I'm sorry, but the fucking players, they're playing like it's a fucking meaningful game. They're playing like, they're, I hear this thing. We're gonna get into the March Madness stuff. The women's women, they have a practice squad they play against. They play against men for practice squad, and they say sometimes when they play the men, they play like they're trying to play for a scholarship, even though they're like a practice squad of like people who are not on the actual men's team. These players, they're playing with enthusiasm. They play like they give a fuck. They play like they care. The fans came out. Man. You saw Miami. There's people like baseball. Miami likes baseball. Latin culture loves baseball. They come out. They fucking sold out that stadium. So there's a lot of enthusiasm. You want to call it a meaningless game? That's not how the players were playing. You saw the
to me, it's ignorance.
Yeah.
You tell me the Angels didn't love the fact that you had your 2-star players and one of the most watched. That is the ultimate marketing tool. That is why things like the World Cup and the Olympics are successful. Not even so much of the fact that your team. It's the eyeballs. It's the marketing of it. It's like having the best players in the world. Like the Angels couldn't be any happier at the fact, and I think they'll see the rewards. The Angels are going to be, who knows, if they're going to probably foster this whole fandom in Japan and in Asia.
And honestly, I hated that argument with the injury, and Gabe, you recapped it perfect, man, with, the cultures out here in Miami. Like, I couldn't have said that better myself, and that was a point I was trying to make, and I'm glad you expressed that. And listen, Japan played 7 games. They had 4 pool games. They had a quarterfinal, I think a semifinal, and the championship. You're telling me you can't put your player at risk if they even get to the championship to play seven games, whereas in spring training, half of my Yankees roster is already on the injury list.
Yeah.
And we're talking spring training.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this tournament is every 4 years.
Yeah.
So give or take.
It's a stupid argument.
With the Diaz
it's a dumb
thing,
argument.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, right? He got hurt celebrating. It was a freak accident.
Yeah,
that could have happened walking on the
exactly. If he got hurt jumping after a game, he could have got hurt going to the club or going to a dinner.
That shit could have happened in spring training. Yeah. It could have happened. It's an ignorant thing to do, because to me as an owner, I want my players out there in the biggest baseball tournament in the world, showcasing my team, so then they can come and view my team once the season starts. If
Edwin Diaz, if he got hurt pitching 15 innings, don't put him in anything. Man. If he got hurt on a freak accident, that's just an accident.
He literally closed out. He came in for an inning, closed it out. He did his job. I was hyped. The trumpets came out. I was jumping around. I was hyped. So for Team Puerto Rico to experience that was amazing.
Devastating. I feel bad for his brother.
To Julian's point, to market the team, even for the Marlins, who knows? This might change the whole trajectory of attendance of this season, because we had a few key players play as well, and they're marketing that hard. Yeah. And season opener, guess who's coming right back? Because you kept seeing him on the screen. Your boy Lindor, who was the face of Puerto Rico, and the Mets are coming to town. So who knows? Puerto Rican fans might pull up just to see him play again. Outside of the Classic, you have Sandy pitching. All the Dominicans might pull up again just to see him pitch because they saw him in a DR uniform. Arraez, who played for Venezuela, you might see all those Venezuelans come to see him play. Yeah. So it might bring hype back to the Marlins, even though they're not a very good team.
Well, that's the thing.
You seen them in their country's uniform.
And that's the thing. People in Miami love baseball, but do they love the Miami Marlins? So Julian, you talked about earlier about mentioning hype and talking about the next generation increasing the hype, or people who grow this. I feel like this definitely was, like you said, a success. It grew this. This can grow the sport. And as far as Miami Marlins baseball in Miami, y'all need to steal shit. Y'all need to steal shit. The vuvuzelas, all that trumpet shit. Y'all need to let people in with that. Let the experience in Miami baseball, Miami Marlins, let it be a party. Let it have fun. That JoJo mentioned it earlier. He's like, I stayed around. JoJo said I stayed around an hour and a half afterwards just because it was party. It was fun. It was excitement. And it's difficult in 162 seasons to have that. But y'all need to steal. It's a 2-week tournament, and y'all need to steal whatever element that gives excitement to baseball in Miami.
Facts. I did want to bring up, and I've actually been it relates to the baseball, but I think it can portray to other sports as well. And I saw this thing, and I've actually been holding on to this topic for 2 weeks now, because I wanted to bring it up to you guys. Because I think it's an interesting thing, and it's do you think that having all this in-game entertainment, things like DJs and all these mini games, has taken away from the atmosphere of what the fans naturally give off? Because I saw somebody say, if you watch the World Baseball Classic, it's a prime example. And Joji, you went to all those games. Think about it. How much other nonsensical shit did they have going on? They didn't. It was pretty much letting the fans take advantage of the situation and create the environment on their own. And that's why I want to
touch on that. Yeah, that's a great point. Go ahead.
And then because for example, you don't see that in college football. You don't see that in world soccer. You don't see you let the fans create the environment, and it's real. It's not manufactured. Yeah. And I think that's something that it can go across all sports. Like you go to the NBA, like our NBA games, we don't have the atmosphere like you see in college.
And playoffs though, it gets loud in playoffs.
It still doesn't even compete though to like college or like even the Euro League in basketball. I think, and I'm curious, like, do you guys think that maybe teams should stop letting go of like trying to get so much of this manufactured entertainment and start letting the fans kind of like take over and foster and create traditions? Because when you think about traditions, it's stuff that like the fans did on their own. Like at the Florida Panthers with the Rats, that was something they did on their own. It wasn't manufactured, and that's what creates like great atmospheres.
So, I mean, the first couple of games up until I think the semifinals, where they'll have like the host on the mic and everything, they didn't have any of that. So like Julian said, in between innings, depending on what team was playing, like what country, that's the style of music they were playing. And you already know when they do that, it's a party. So, for example, Puerto Rico versus Dominican Republic, in between they were playing Bad Bunny, they were playing dembow, they were playing bachata, they were playing merengue, they were playing
to the crowd. Playing to the crowd.
Playing everything to the crowd. There was no one talking. Yes, they had their little announcements here and there. But like Julian said, like it didn't stop like the momentum of the fans cheering or anything like that. Whereas in the semifinals and the finals, I think they brought their host back, and they had like what's called hits, right? So whatever they're marketing or promoting, or trying to hype people up in between. I guess fans weren't like paying attention too much, and the music wasn't really there those last two games compared to all the other games. So maybe music will dictate, and like Julian said, like the fans will create their own environment. But give or take, I really feel like it depends on what ballpark you're in. Maybe some cities you need that, some you don't.
Yeah.
But I think you should experiment on both and see what works in your games. Because they do need some sort of entertainment to a certain extent, right? You don't want to overdo it as well. But Julian makes a very good point there. And I do want to highlight one thing before we forget, that the Marlins are doing great, and we're talking about the classic, we're talking about heritage. The Marlins do have their heritage nights, which they were promoting the new jerseys ahead of time. Everything's already released to the public to view for Mexico Heritage Night, Puerto Rico Heritage Night, Israeli, Italian, Dominican Heritage Night, and which I think they're really taking advantage of the World Baseball Classic into promoting it and their key players on their team, so that those games would definitely, have like a sellout effect when the time comes. Because I did go to PR Heritage Night last season. And that, like I said, that was just a taste of what the World Baseball.
It's fun, but it's not packed. It's not a World Baseball Classic.
I think the thing is,
and that certain demographic. So they were smart on what team was in town during that time to do a specific heritage. Because predominantly with New York, you're probably going to have a lot of Puerto Ricans or Dominicans. So when New York comes into town, or already, you're gonna have all the New Yorkers out here going to the game that moved out here to South Florida. So.
Yeah, I think nationalism is it's big. I mean, it's what gets people going. It's like think about it. Like you guys watch the World Cup, but you guys don't watch soccer in between. It's something about seeing your country in there.
Wrapping yourself in the flag. Wrapping yourself in the flag.
Do we watch track and field outside of the Olympics? No. I mean, maybe some people, but let's be real. Like 99% of people don't.
I watch people to see who's going to go to the Olympics.
Yeah. and then kind of to like the crowd thing. It's like when you think of some of the best like places to go watch a certain team, like they don't do that manufactured shit. Like if you go to the Packers game, it is fucking wild because it's like they don't need to do that. And you think of like the craziest atmospheres. Like I'm sure Jojo, when you said when you went to DR and Puerto Rico, like it was just wild. It was all up to the fans. It wasn't like anything the Marlins did in particular. Or like even when I'm sure it's like that when you go to a Yankees game or a Jets game or whatever. Like you think of those hardcore fan bases, they don't need to do that. And I part of me feels like it's like when you start trying to do all this manufactured like shit, it just like it makes it not as real, and it kind of takes away like these traditions that were made by the fans.
I could see that, and I just feel like Marlins did have like a traditional fan base. And I don't know if it's that gap or void they're trying to fill with the quietness in the stadium.
Yeah, there's a lot of space to fill in baseball.
Yeah,
team.
so I feel like it's tough. It's tough out here until they really get an established fan base. And this could be it. Like if Marlins could go on a little run here, carry momentum from the World Baseball Classic, maybe start off with a winning record first 20 games. Who knows? We could see a shift here in Miami.
But I also think too. I also think too. This plays into the factor that people want to go to the meaningful games. They want to go to like this, like it's Miami, and people want to be where people are going. Like I get, it's like, and I think making meaningful games where it's like, oh, like man, I gotta go see it. Like that's what brings. And I think like if you have a 1:00 game on a Wednesday, like of course it's just not going to fill out because who gives a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? And
I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Yeah. And it's like that also kind of plays a factor. It's like
down at 1:00. Like I won't be there.
Like bro, I don't think it would happen, but I would love to see a 60-game season. I think that like you make the regular season like really count. Like, man, it could be. I think that's how you create that hype and that that. Because like, am I going to like put like crowds are going to help push your team forward? Are your crowd really going to help push your team forward if you're like in a May game in like a Wednesday afternoon? Like it's not like how it used to when there's nothing else to do. There's too many things that are captivating people's eyes.
Listen, man, there's Ultra going on. Listen, we get to NBA Finals. A lot of shit going on in Miami, but let's get off baseball. We've been talking a lot live. This is like probably the longest segment of baseball we talked. Julian, I appreciate you, by the way. Julian, I appreciate you talking about baseball because,
like I said, this was the most exciting I've had watching the most excitement I've had watching baseball in a long time. And that's why I don't mind talking about it longer because one, it doesn't happen like every 4 years. Yeah. So, and it was a big deal. So it's like,
Puerto Rico 2026. You heard it from me here first, right?
Yeah.
All right,
I guess 26, yeah.
Let's talk about some other madness going on because we're in the middle. We're almost ending March, but we're in the middle of March Madness. We're in our Final Four. We're talking about men's NCAA basketball, March Madness. Teams that nobody suspected. We got to go quick through this because I didn't know how the tournament went for you, JoJo, but we're in the Final Four. We got versus UConn. We got FAU versus, I forget the other team. San Diego State. Oh, yeah, I forget. San Diego State University. JoJo, let's go to you because, you watch basketball. How has your March Madness been? Everybody's bracket's been fucked up. Nobody picked UM and FAU to go to this shit. Right. Everybody's shit got blown up like the first 2 weeks. This shit got blown up. The first couple games
when Purdue lost.
I will say. Look, I've been watching UConn all season, and I told you this is our year, man. We're gonna make a run, right? Early on, we were ranked. We got up to rank number 2. We started off 14-0. The only teams we lost to were in the Big East, so we were out there cooking. And I will say, I did predict on my main bracket because we all have multiple brackets.
Oh yeah,
but the main bracket,
make a couple.
Yeah, I got 2. I actually got 2 out of the 4 for Final Four correct, and that was UM. Can you believe that? Wow. I had that much faith in UM. I actually thought they'd make a run, and they did, and they ended up playing UConn. And of course, I have UConn winning. Obviously, on the other side, no one predicted that shit. Fucking FAU and San Diego State.
I didn't even know FAU was in the bracket. I didn't even know. No, dead ass. I'm not even kidding. I didn't even know they had a basketball team. Like
they're pretty young. They're a new school.
I thought they just had football and baseball.
Are they in FIU's conference?
I'm sure they are. I would imagine.
Shit, bro. The day we'll see FIU.
I legit didn't know they had a basketball team. Because I never heard of them talk about basketball regarding just football.
And I'll keep a long story short on UConn's run. Our first 2 games we finished. Actually, all 3 games we won by double digits, and we gave Gonzaga an ass whooping last game, and they barely beat UCLA. And honestly, we've had favorable matchups. Listen, shout out to all the upsets because that benefited UConn. We had Arkansas take down number 1 Kansas for us. Thank you, Arkansas, because then we cooked them. Then we had Gonzaga take out UCLA for us. Thank you, Gonzaga, because I was not scared to play Gonzaga at all. And look, we won by like 27. I was actually I feared UCLA.
Yeah, I thought UCLA had a good team. They had a decent team.
So you know what? Hey, we're rolling. We're in the Final Four. I actually saw that University of Miami game versus Texas when they came back from 13 points, and they got a squad. I'll tell you that right now. So I think this next game is going to be good. but we're still winning by 15 because that's the trend. We won every game in double. I'm sorry, Gabe. I know you're going for UM.
Listen.
Local Miami native.
Listen. I'm gonna root for anything UM because UM. Listen, our football team hasn't been that great in a couple of years. The last time UM football has been good, about 2008, we beat Notre Dame in Miami in Hard Rock Stadium. I'm not gonna talk about it, but you know what? I feel like UM has set the standard. UM has never been to a Final Four. They set the standard. This is like, this is the expectation now going forward. Like, y'all gotta come up. Y'all gotta come up here. Whoever the other UM teams, the UM basketball teams that come after this, y'all gotta come up here. Like, they set the standard, especially with the women making a run deep in the playoffs. They got eliminated, by LSU, but it was a good run. It's a good year, regardless of the result. I feel like we're playing with house money. UM is playing with house money. We shouldn't be here. I felt like, not that they overperform, but like, they if there's a Cinderella team, UConn versus Miami, I feel like Miami's like nobody's expecting Miami to play that. So it's gonna be exciting. I'm gonna be talking shit in the chat on the WhatsApp. Be talking shit to Georgia. I'm gonna watch the game. But I feel like anybody who comes out of here, I feel like the other side is gonna be kind of weaker, like FAU, San Diego State. I don't know enough about them to tell you about.
This is the national championship. UConn versus Miami is the national championship. Because on the other side, beautiful like Cinderella stories on both ends. They're not beating whichever team comes out of UM versus UConn. It's not happening. I don't see it happening.
Also, warning, we are all FIU alums for those who don't know. So we're all like, fuck FAU, they ain't gonna do shit. So
foul out on the price.
That's why I'm not even rooting for FAU because they shit on us too many times with football and we gone to those games. We're like, nah, like even though like South Florida locals, everyone would love to see FAU versus Miami. I'm a
root for South Florida.
That'll be dope. I have to. FAU Miami will be dope, but unfortunately, sorry, you're not getting by my Huskies. It's just not happening. So unfortunately, I have to wait till next year to possibly see that matchup.
Roll the ball.
All right, so we can agree that we have FAU beating San Diego because don't sleep on San Diego. Like they're actually.
I'm not gonna sleep on San Diego. I don't know.
They're fifth seed for a reason.
They took down Creighton last game, and Creighton was. Yeah. They're a tough team, man. They
beat Baylor.
Came out big, man. So I don't know. So who y'all got? Who y'all got on that side?
Listen.
I mean, San Diego beat Alabama,
and they were
which was the number one seed. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not gonna sleep on San Diego State. If they come out, it's fine. But it's just I don't know enough about the history of San Diego State. I don't know enough about their players. I feel like they should win. FAU, man, it's such a tiny school. Like they are.
Right.
If anybody will perform, maybe FAU will perform. Yeah. Nobody. When they talk about Florida schools, FAU. Wow,
have y'all been there?
A popular school in Florida. I've been to FAU. I had a friend go to FAU.
I've only drove by FAU.
I've walked in there. I'm telling you now, that place is a glorified high school.
It's a tiny school.
I walked through there and I felt like I was in high school. Like it reminded me of my high school. Maybe not as nice because it's not a fucking college university, but the layout of it, the shit had a breezeway. Like it literally looked like a glorified high school.
I don't want to, take away, deteriorate anything that the guys accomplished because they've gone far. They're in the fucking Final Four.
No, fuck them.
Right.
Yo, with nothing. Compared to all these other schools, you want to talk about Alabama, Houston, you want to talk about whatever.
Gabe, I don't want to hear your
Duke.
FAU
you want to talk about UNC? How many of those players are NIL players that get played? Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. This FAU school just comes out of nowhere and is fucking in the Final Four. That's fucking pretty impressive. I'm sorry.
We get it,
I don't want to diminish what the fuck they come.
We get it, Gabe.
I'm a root for South Florida. I'm a root for South Florida. Every place I can go.
We get it, Gabe. You're a secreted Owl fan.
Nah.
All right, look. Hypothetically,
we're gonna take your FIU degree away. Take it away.
If FAU were to face UM in the national championship, who's winning that? Because I said UM, but I want to hear from y'all now.
I think
it's not even close, dude.
Yeah, I think honestly this UM team is pretty special. I mean, they've had some other teams that got close that they get into the finals, whatever, but they fall out the first round or something. But this UM team is pretty special. And they play pretty well. I have UM on top.
For those that don't know why I'm such a big UConn fan, that was my dream college. Didn't end up going there, but I did take a tour of the campus early on, 2013. So that was the year before they actually won the national championship in 2014 when the men's and women's team won. And I was so pissed that I didn't go. I was like, damn, I could have been at UConn partying up right now. 2 national championships. So, just early on in high school, I was a huge, UConn fan overall of the school too, not just the teams. So that's why I'm still rooting for them, Who knows, maybe grad school, UConn student, pay the out-of-state tuition.
I protested this March Madness because North Carolina choked when they needed to be there.
Oh, let's not talk about North Carolina.
They fucking choked in the ACC tournament. So
talk about
this whole March.
There's a lot going on with that. Like you got players entering the transfer portal.
Some are saying
North Carolina's on the down. Their arrows pointing downwards like this.
They're going down and South Florida's going up. Trading places.
Then you bring Roy Williams.
Anyways, UConn gonna be national champs. I gotta post a bracket out here. I need y'all to see my realistic bracket. So at least I predicted 2 out of the 4 of the final 4 correct. So I'll take that. I'll live with that.
All right. Let's transition over because, the NFL never stops. Always making news. Tons of NFL news going on. Although we're in March, there's no games being played. But NFL, there's transactions, man. We got to talk about transactions. Let's talk about the biggest stories in the NFL going on because now we're in open season. Trades being made. People are being re-signed. Caps being, alleviated. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers reportedly still with the Packers. Hasn't signed. Yep. There's already talks with the Jets. We've already had conversations about him being traded. He still wants Randall Cobbs for some reason. He wants everybody he just wants to transfer everybody from the Green Bay Packers over to the Jets.
They got one player. They got Lazard over there.
I think the Aaron Rodgers thing's a pretty much done deal, even though as we record on Tuesday, he hasn't signed yet, but I think it's pretty much done. I think the Green Bay Packers are done with him. Julian, I'll go to you. Aaron Rodgers situation. How do you feel about it?
I think he's gone, man. I think I really think he's going to leave. I think they're just settling it out. I mean, I think it's in the best interest of both sides. I think Green Bay wants to get rid of the money. They want to get rid of the money. You still have this rookie that you signed in the first round 4 years ago, and just Jordan Love. I think they want to see what they have in him. Green Bay is not a good team. They're going to have to reboot it. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to be there anymore because of the fact that team is not very good. Now that Lazard's gone, he really has no weapons. I genuinely don't know who's on the wide receiver squad for that team. I think he has to go. I think the Jets are real contenders. I don't know if you guys know, offensive coordinator for the Jets now, Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, was there the two MVP seasons Aaron Rodgers was in Green Bay. Obviously, Nathaniel Hackett was terrible for the Broncos, and that ended badly. But I think it's a done deal. I mean, the Jets are legitimately a quarterback away. They have top offensive line players. They have a decent running back with Breece Hall.
He got hurt, but he's coming back.
You have the offensive rookie of the year with Garrett Wilson. You now have Alan Lazard. You have one of the top 5 defenses in the league. And you have what I like to think a really good coach. And then you're also bringing back your guy at OC. So to me, the writing's on the wall. I think it's just a matter of how this is going to look because honestly, it's going to be a massive trade. It's going to be something wild. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if you guys have an idea what it could possibly look like. It's obviously going to entail multiple first-round picks. I think it's just a matter. I don't think it's a matter of if. I think it's a matter of when.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers did this last year when he was trying to re-sign or renegotiate his contract. He waited a long-ass time. I think this is a done deal. As far as the details, he wants to acquire other people from his team. That is to be announced, whatever, as far as how they hash out all the details. But I think he's definitely gone. It's a done deal. He hasn't signed, but I think it's over. Like he's gonna go with the Jets. The Jets should be. They were a pretty good team without him. Like they were definitely on the upside.
They have a
going
top
forward.
defense, so you know he hasn't had that in a while. So you know,
And honestly, the most I was gonna say, I think too, like the most untalked about thing is, I think this is good for Zach Wilson. I think that man was not ready to handle the New York Lights, and not even just the New York, but even just to play in the NFL. I think you're now bringing in a guy who everybody compared him to coming out of the draft. They were comparing him to the new Aaron Rodgers or to like Patrick Mahomes. And I think this is honestly good for him to sit behind him and learn, because that dude is still really young. And I always thought, like, don't get me wrong, he was fucking atrocious. He was bad. But I mean, the guy was still really young and he was still trying to figure it out. So maybe give him some time. We'll see. But weirdly enough, this is the second time a Packers quarterback has gone to New York. Brett Favre went to the Jets. But I know if this deal happens, Gabe is going to be shaking in his boots.
I ain't shaking over shit.
Worried. And I know all of a sudden we're going to hear JoJo actually represent his hometown and be a Jets fan.
In Tua we trust, okay? Let's go on. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson.
Yes, Jets.
Let's talk about Lamar.
Going to be like mid-season.
Lamar Jackson's the biggest asset, big piece coming out of Baltimore. Obviously this whole summer he's been talking about he wants, since the Deshaun Watson transaction, he's asking for Deshaun Watson money, 230, at least 5 or 6 years. He's like he doesn't expect anything less. So he's been holding out and he's negotiating for himself, which, you know what? I respect that. He's negotiating for himself. I don't know if that's super smart, but I respect that he's taking control of whatever, obviously former MVP, league MVP. Deshaun Watson, I think it was March 22nd. He's coming out in the news recently that he said March 22nd he asked for a trade. March 27th, they actually
Was it the 2nd or 22nd?
March 22nd, 22. Yeah. He asked for a trade. March 27th, 27. They put the franchise tag on him. So now he's out in obligation. So Baltimore right now has its rights. So he can go out and talk to other teams, but Baltimore Ravens retain the right to match that. Or if they don't match it, they're asking for 2 first rounders, a 2023, a 2024 first round draft pick if they don't want to sign him. So I feel like, Lamar Jackson definitely has all the power. We talk about player empowerment. He has all the power in the situation, but since they put the franchise tag on him, I feel like they're telling the league, yo, you value yourself as this much. You value yourself as a Deshaun Watson contract. Let's see who actually is going to meet that. So, Julian, I'll go to you. How do you feel about this Lamar Jackson situation? I know you had some strong opinions we talked about earlier off air, but Lamar Jackson, is he? What's going on?
I think he's gone. I don't see a world where he stays. And I think he's going to the NFC. I don't think they're going to trade within conference. Quite honestly, I think all that's going to do is hurt Baltimore. I think the damage is done. I don't know where he could possibly go. I think
the Falcons. Give it up. The Falcons.
I think somebody's going to give it up for. I think somebody's going to give up all that for him. I'm sure. I think at the end of the day, it's a quarterback-driven league, and if everybody needs a guy, outside of like maybe 5 or 6 teams. So, yeah, I think it's all but done. Where he goes, I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think everybody's pointing to the Falcons.
I mean, I heard
that makes the most
a lot of sense. Washington.
I was gonna say everybody's pointing to the Falcons, but I don't see the Falcons doing it. I think it's going to be a team we don't expect. Personally, honestly, I didn't even think about Washington. What JoJo said, that actually makes a ton of sense to me. A part of me is thinking like maybe like Seattle, but then again, I later thought about, Seattle already has like no picks left because of the fact
they got everything. All they got is Metcalf.
So they have that surplus from the Russell Wilson trade. So a part of me could see that happening because Seattle has those extra picks to do it. But it's definitely going to be an NFC team. to me, it would make absolutely no sense for the Raiders. I mean, not the Raiders, the Ravens to trade within conference. And quite honestly, I'd be kind of happy and honestly, I'm kind of happy for him to go to NFC because I think the AFC is way too stacked right now, and we kind of need to disperse it a little bit. And also, I did hear a lot of talks about him potentially going to Indianapolis. I will say I do not want him to go to Indianapolis.
Yeah, they need a quarterback. They need a quarterback for sure.
And Indy is not afraid to go after people. It seems like they want to do anything but draft one. So, but I honestly, to me, I could really see, like, I know no one's talking about it, but I could see a Seattle move. They have the picks from the Russell Wilson trade. I mean, how long are you going to roll with Geno? Like, we know Geno's
Listen, that's a hot hand. That's a hot hand.
They just re-signed Geno.
Yeah. That's a hot hand. Let him roll out.
Yeah, but are you going to want to have Geno, or would you rather go after Lamar Jackson? If he's there and you have the picks.
Geno ain't been hurt.
Surplus of picks.
Geno's not hurt.
Exactly. So you got a good backup quarterback.
Damn.
You can put Lamar Jackson.
Damn.
Damn. I mean, I don't know, man. I like Washington. He'll still be in the DMV area as well.
Washington's definitely a very realistic move. I could definitely see that. They have some talent on that team.
They win games you don't think they'll win. That's why they're an annoying team, right? It's like, all right. So here's the thing. My take on that. It's like now I feel like it's getting too deep. You don't want it to get messy, like with the Texans situation. You don't want that to happen. Who knows? Maybe he settles. Maybe they do. The thing is that he wants guaranteed money. Maybe get a shorter contract, 3-year contract, $150 million. Get him some guaranteed money, and then he'll be a free agent afterwards.
I don't think he's going to do that. Go ahead, Jim.
I think Deshaun, just like the owners are saying, and Deshaun Watson fucked up everything.
Yeah, just like Rudy Gobert in the NBA. Rudy Gobert fucked up everything. Yeah.
He fucked up everything.
That's Haslam. That's the owner Haslam.
And now everybody's seeing how it has not worked out for Cleveland and Houston.
Yeah,
and it's like, man, do you want to risk that?
Man. Yeah, to hold out this long now.
They raised the bar. And guess what? Yesterday's price is not today's price. Lamar Jackson's gonna get paid. He's a fucking NFL MVP. I'm sorry. If he's holding out for money, he's gonna get paid. Because if I'm Baltimore, what's your Tyler Huntley? That's your backup. That's your plan.
Here's the thing. If Baltimore actually genuinely doesn't care, and you play the season, and you see how he performs, and if time moves on, maybe they move on. And that's a risk.
I don't think Baltimore's scared. I don't think Baltimore's scared. Baltimore, most likely, if they trade him, they're going to get a high pick because of the fact it's going to be a team without a quarterback that needs one, and it's going to be a bad team. So they're going to get a high first-round pick and a following pick in a quarterback-heavy draft class. I don't think they're afraid to let him go, get a high pick, and draft that Richardson guy out of Florida or C.J. Stroud or bundle the picks to move up even higher. I don't think they're scared. I don't think Baltimore. I really think they're content with letting him go because of what they could get in return in this draft class.
Well, by the way, Ravens have number 22 as of it stands right now. As of today, Tuesday, they have number 22. That's their first round draft pick they have this year, unless they trade unless some transaction happens. They have number 22.
As I said, and think about it: if they trade, it's probably going to be to a bad team who has a high pick and is in that range to get a top quarterback.
You want to talk about NFC teams? Can we talk about Carolina? I don't know all the assets that Carolina has. Carolina has traded a whole shit ton. Remember, they traded CMC. They traded Christian McCaffrey. Right. He's gone. They got up. So you're talking about if Julian, I'm going to follow your logic. Say he's going to go to the NFC.
Baker.
Either it's maybe Atlanta, maybe Carolina. I don't know. I don't know how the money works. I haven't done a lot of research. I'm just saying.
Dolphins?
No,
perhaps?
No, that's AFC. They're not going to the Dolphins, man. The two we trust.
No shot he's going to Panthers. The Panthers gave up way too much to get number 1 overall pick. I think personally, and we can transition here to the Panthers getting this trade between the Bears, which we all kind of saw coming from the Bears. Panthers get the number 1 overall pick, and in return, the Bears get the number 9 pick, which is what the Panthers return. They get the number 61 pick. They get the Panthers' first rounder in 2024. They get the Panthers' second rounder in 2025, and they get much needed wide receiver DJ Moore. Yeah. The Panthers they clearly got, to me, I think they have their eyes on Bryce Young. I'm not a big Bryce Young fan. And again, I am an Alabama hater. I really like CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud's the best quarterback in this class. Personally, he has all the intangibles. The man is big. I think Bryce Young reminds me of Tua too much. And but I think the Panthers are going to go that route. I think the Bears absolutely fucking killed it. I don't think it was a terrible give up by the Panthers if they really like their guy. But to me, the Bears A+ trade. You get a number 9 overall pick, which you can easily get another weapon for, is what you need. You get a stud veteran wide receiver in DJ Moore, who is a multifaceted tool who can do so many things in between the backfield and out wide. For a team that desperately needed wide receiver talent, you've already got Chris Claypool, which is who you traded for in the trade deadline. Now you got DJ Moore, and now you potentially have the opportunity to then pick up some more players in the 9th and in the late 2nd round. So I think this was a huge get by the Bears and a much needed one, because obviously they invested too much. They traded up to get Justin Fields. Justin Fields showed some promise last year in his running ability. But I know Justin Fields, watching him in college, I know the man can sling the rock, and he just wasn't able to – he didn't have anybody to throw it to. Now things are actually starting to get moving, and he's actually getting, like, people who can go out there and actually run routes and wasn't selling cars, like, 2 weeks before the season started.
I think that, Chicago Bears all in. They made tons of transactions in the offseason. I think they're one of these teams that, like, I don't know if they're going to be good next year, but they're going to be good in a few years. Like, I feel like that about Carolina. I feel like that about the Bears. I feel like Jacksonville's made some moves. So I feel like they are making moves that, like, they're trying to be relevant. Like, this is the time, like, where you acquire assets and make moves. And
see,
Chicago. Listen, I'm not going to go all in Chicago, because Chicago is still a tough division, but I feel like they're making moves. They're maybe it's the transaction before the transaction. Like,
Really, I think it's a weak division. I mean, you got most likely Green Bay Packers, and Aaron Rodgers lists Green Bay Packers. You have a Detroit Lions team who still has Jared Goff at the helm.
Watch out, Matt Campbell.
They played great at the end of the year.
They're making a run.
Are they going to be a perennial? Like, how far are they set up in the future? And then you have a Minnesota team who always seems to fumble the bag in important games. I'm not saying the Bears can win the division, but I also don't think it's like completely out of the realm. They're going to be competitive. As for the Panthers, I really like the Panthers. Like, they're really hitting reset, and I think they needed to. And I remember talking about this last year, that they felt like they needed to. I felt like the whole Baker and Sam Darnold thing just wasn't going to work. The team wasn't really had a great base in the first place to then bring in these guys. So Panthers, they're a very long way away, because they have, outside of like, I think it's Brian Burns, like, they don't really have any talent on that team, very little, and they got rid of a lot of players. They're just completely hitting reset. The only thing that would worry me about the Panthers is now that you're giving up all these first round picks and you don't really have a team of like players that are competing. That's what worries me when it comes to the Panthers. It's like, all right, you gave up all these picks, but then who are you going to pick the next following years? Because as of right now, unless you go all in on free agency, you don't really have any draft capital to kind of bounce back now that it's all gone. It's not like you pulled a Rams where it's like, all right, we fuck the picks. We're getting free agents. We're trading them for actual players.
All the money, all the trades, everything. Like, they threw all the chips on the table, and it was worth it. I mean, they got the chip. Yeah. Even though they're shitty the following season, but that's another story.
All right, can we talk about the Eagles? I guess let's finish it off with the Eagles. Eagles, they're keeping everybody. I guess they're obviously they lost in the final championship, but they brought out of retirement. They brought Jason Kelsey out of retirement. They're like, Kelsey's like, I'm gonna do one more ride. Kelsey the whole year was like, I'm gonna retire. He's like, you know what? One more ride. I think Jalen Hurts is really that good. Julian, how do you feel about the Eagles keeping everybody together, keeping the unit? We're gonna run it back one more time.
Dude, the Eagles did an incredible job. They got all these guys on super low contracts because they had a ton of free agents, and man, they all came back for the most part. Fletcher Cox is back. Darius Slay is back. Lane Johnson gets signed a contract extension. Jason Kelsey's back. Like countless people. Fletcher, I already say Fletcher Cox. Now you bring in a reliable backup and Marcus Mariota. Like Justin Evans, like you brought it back so many people, like in all 1 year short term deals, like this is like all in, like you have to, and rightfully so. There's not a better team in the NFC. There's not a single team that can compete in the NFC with the Eagles. The Eagles are just too good. The only one that you could say potentially is the Niners, but we don't know what that quarterback situation is going to look like. Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Is it going to be Trey Lance?
Run back Brock.
I think it's got to be Purdy. But even so, this is the Eagles conference to take. The Eagles are going back into the Super Bowl. I'm saying it now.
Wow, you're an Eagles guy
question.
Now.
I'm not an Eagles guy, but I'm like, dude, who the hell's going to beat them? Like, who's going to beat them in the NFC? The Cowboys? Get the fuck out of here. Like, I mean,
the Giants. Don't sleep.
Giants may move. Giants may move.
Giants maybe, but like.
No, I get it though.
The Eagles are better. The Eagles are better.
Yeah, for sure. They cooked them in the playoffs. So,
and I mean it's like we saw it with Tampa. I mean, if you keep players, man, like it makes you a contender. And a lot of these players are still in their primes. They could have left, and outside of like obviously like a Lane Johnson or like a Jason Kelsey, these are guys that could have went off and made like money. Like I think Darius Slay could have made serious cash flow somewhere else, but he decided to stay.
He said I think his conversation, he wanted to stay. Like he wanted to get paid, but
because he would have got a payday.
Yeah,
I'm sure somebody.
I think he has loyalty to the Eagles, and being in a situation like they have a really good team. They were really close. I wasn't an Eagle guy in the beginning. Again, I gave like 4 or 5 weeks. I was like, I don't know. Everybody's talking about the Eagles. I don't know. Afterwards, I'm like, okay. I see what they're talking about.
I don't know. You say that now, but in fantasy, the first people you drafted were these Eagle players. So
listen. I had AJ Brown. You know what I mean? I had Jalen Hurts. I had to draft him. So you know what I mean? A couple. I had to wait to see, but I'm all in on the Eagles.
All right, we can end it here, and this revolves Gabe's Miami Dolphins. Dolphins trade for star cornerback Jalen Ramsey.
Ooh,
Gabe, how you feeling?
I love it.
You got Jalen Ramsey, and you got Xavier Howard on the opposite side.
Love it.
Probably the top cornerback duo in the league, would you say? Dare I say?
Definitely maybe, one of. Like 5 years ago, I would have said that. But
yeah, definitely one. Definitely one of. They're one of the top.
I feel like, this is coming off the heels of Byron Jones. Coming out this offseason. Obviously, it was hard for him to come back on the field. He had tons of injuries. And when he was on the field, he wasn't playing at the top level. And, they waived him. I think they released him. And so, yeah, I didn't expect this. I wasn't seeing like, they're going to acquire Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey all coming out of FSU. Listen, I'm a Jalen Ramsey fan in parts. Like sometimes he plays really well. Sometimes I just see him get burnt. He's been burnt in the playoffs. And I'm like, yo, it's the playoffs, man. You can't get burned all the time. But as far as acquiring, if we're gonna drop Byron Jones, who's one of these top, he got paid like he was a top cornerback. But obviously, if injuries are suffering him, then we have to, I guess, as a organization, move on. So I'm fine with that. As far as acquiring Jalen Ramsey, I would like to see. This is a Jalen Ramsey later. I feel like I'm getting Jalen Ramsey after his prime. Like I feel I'm not getting Jaguars Jalen Ramsey. I'm getting
I honestly I don't think he has not been the same since he's left Jacksonville. He played great. He played good in Los Angeles, but Jalen Ramsey was easily the best corner in the league when he was in Jacksonville, and it wasn't even close. Somebody who watched him every single day, like every single game. When he was here, like it wasn't even a competition. And Aaron Donald saved Jalen Ramsey's Super Bowl career because we were all there together. Well, Gabe.
Yeah, we were watching there. Gabe wasn't there.
Jalen Ramsey, Jamar Chase cooked Jalen Ramsey at the end.
He got it.
And Aaron Donald saved his ass by sacking Joe Burrow, because if Joe Burrow would have had even an inch of space, he was getting that wide open bomb to Jamar Chase because Ramsey got cooked right there.
Yeah, that's a fact. After all the chatter, I remember that.
So overall, Jalen Ramsey, I feel like we definitely need help. Listen, our defense, our cornerbacks, we definitely need help on that end. And I feel like Jalen Ramsey is a name. I want to see the play. Like I'm just so roll the ball out and let me see how he plays. It's a great name, big name, top defensive player in the past. What can you do this year? I'm gonna wait to see, guy.
Are you a little upset that you felt like the Dolphins didn't get like a better backup
For
Tua? For
Tua?
Do you think you guys think that you guys should?
We have Brissett.
To me, obviously, I don't think he wanted a backup job, but bro, Jimmy G was right there, dog. Jimmy G was right there.
Fuck you, man. Get out of here. Fuck Jimmy G. Get the fuck out of here.
No, let's be real though. Jimmy G.
I'm waiting for Tom. I'm waiting for
with
Tom.
Mike McDaniels. No, real quick, with Mike McDaniels, who was on that, who played with Jimmy G for years. I think Jimmy G's a backup. Don't get me wrong, but dude, Jimmy G would easily be one of the best backups in the league.
Hey, listen, he's a starter right now, so he got paid again.
You're cool with rolling out with Jacoby Brissett.
Oh,
that's not our backup now. That's not our backup now.
Oh, who's it? Bridgewater? I think it is.
No,
is it Teddy?
Not anymore. We got We got Stidham, just Stidham is our backup.
Oh, you guys got Stidham? Is it Stidham?
And no. We got the Jets. Who's the Jets guy? White, the backup for the Jets.
You guys got Mike White?
Oh,
yeah, we got
the third string.
Oh man, I completely.
I like Mike White. Fuck y'all. I like Mike White.
No,
I like
honestly,
Mike White.
no,
I like Mike White.
Dead ass. I forgot about the whole Mike White thing. That's actually really good. I take back everything that I said. You guys, we will erase this from the thing. I did not know Mike. I forgot Mike White went there.
And with that disrespect to my Dolphins, we should end this podcast because I'm angry.
You'll take that?
I'm angry. How dare you?
You'll take that?
I don't think Jimmy G was that ridiculous, bro. He played for Mike McDaniels.
Jojo, tell the people where they can get the podcast. Okay?
Listen, man, you can find us on Instagram, Real Fans Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Catch Gabe on Twitter. The Twitter fingers. Catch us on Facebook. Catch us everywhere else, man. He left. There you go. That's the end of the podcast. Julian's out here being disrespectful. We love the comments, the likes, the interactions, man. If you have anything you want to comment to us, let us know, man. We ready to debate all day, every day. Let's get it.
All right. Peace out, y'all. You know where to find us. Anywhere you get your platform, anywhere you get your podcast. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.